This is lesson 28, and we'll be discussing triplets and duplets. Time signatures can be categorized by their quality. Two of the most common qualities are simple time and compound time. Remember also that in simple time, the beat or pulse note is an undotted or basic note value, and that basic note value naturally divides into two equal parts. We also learned that in compound time, the big beat or pulse note is a dotted note value, and that dotted note value naturally divides into three equal parts. So what happens if a composer is writing a piece in simple time where the beat naturally divides into two equal parts, but as part of his melody, he desires to have the beat divide into three equal parts? It is possible for a composer to divide the beat into three equal parts, even if he's in simple meter, by using a figure known as a tuplet. A tuplet is any subdivision of the beat into a number that is not usually allowed by the meter. Some of the most common types of tuplets are duplets, where the beat is divided into two equal parts, triplets, where the beat is divided into three equal parts, quintuplets, where the beat is divided into five equal parts, and sextuplets, where the beat is divided into six equal parts.
One of the most common tuplets that we'll see often in our music is a triplet. Triplets are used in simple meters when the composer wants to create a part of the melody where the beat divides into three equal parts, even though the natural division of the beat that is permitted by the meter is into two equal parts. We'll start by interpreting the time signature. We know that because the top number of the time signature is a 2, a 3, or a 4, we're in simple time. And in this case, we'll have 2 beats per measure. So we already know we're in simple duple meter. The bottom 4 tells us that a quarter note will be our beat or pulse note. We therefore know that a quarter note will receive 1 beat, and we will use the Gordon rhythm syllable do to refer to those. And an eighth note will receive just half a beat, and we'll use the Gordon rhythm syllables do, day to refer to those. Setting the metronome at 70 and putting the beat into our hands or feet, we'll just read this rhythm. Ready, clap. Ready, speak. Do, day, do, day, do, day, do, day. Now look at the example just below that. Note these groups where we have 3/8 notes beamed together with this little 3 scripted above them. This is how a composer will indicate a triplet within any piece written in simple meter. So for using Gordon rhythm language, the syllables we would use would be do, day, because those are our half beat notes, and now each of these is worth just 1/3 of a beat each. So we would actually use the syllables do, da, dee. Here's another triplet, do, da, dee, and then we're back to our duple division, do, day. Setting the metronome at 60, a little bit slower, putting that beat into our hands or feet. I'll show you how this would be performed. Ready, clap. Ready, speak. Do, day, do, da, dee, do, da, dee, do, day. We're going to look at one more example of a triplet in simple meter. So we're in 2/2 time. The top number of the time signature is a 2. Because the top number of a time signature is a 2, a 3, or a 4, we know we're in simple time. In this case, simple duple time. So there will be 2 beats per measure. And the bottom 2 tells us that a half note will be our beat or pulse note. So we know that a half note, because it's worth 1 beat, will be do, using our Gordon rhythm language, and a quarter note, which is worth half of a half note, will be our half beat note. So we will use the Gordon rhythm syllables do, day to represent those half-beat notes. So reading through the first example, setting the metronome at 60 and putting the beat into our hands or feet. Ready, clap. Ready, speak. Do, day, do, day, do, day. Looking at the example below, we see that one of those do days has been changed into a triplet quarter note figure. We know that because there is this little 3 and a bracket grouping those 3 quarter notes together. We need that bracket with quarter note triplets because they're not naturally beamed together. With 8th note or 16th note triplets, we don't need to have that bracket because they're already beamed together. So using the Gordon rhythm syllables, we would say do, day for these normal quarter notes in simple meter, and then we would use the syllables do, da, dee to demonstrate that these quarter notes are worth just 1/3 of a beat each because the beat is divided into 3 equal parts instead of just 2. And then do, day. Setting the metronome at 60, this is what it would sound like. Ready, clap. Ready, speak. Do, day, do, da, dee, do, day. So remember that in simple meters, the beat naturally divides into 2 equal parts, but that a composer can get around that restriction by using tuplets. In this case, a triplet, where instead of the beat naturally dividing into 2 equal parts, the beat is divided into 3 equal parts. So essentially a triplet is 3 of one type of note value that is played in the same amount of time as 2 of that same note value. So 2 quarter notes are played in the same amount of time as a set of quarter note triplets would be played. We're now going to look at an example of a duplet in compound meter. So first, looking at the time signature, we see the top number is a 6. Remember that if the top number of the time signature is a 6, a 9, or a 12, we know we're in compound meter. So we know that in compound meter, the time signature actually tells us information about the subdivided or little beat or pulse note. From there, we'll have to do some math to figure out what the dotted note value pulse beat will be, or the big beat note value. So the top 6 of this time signature tells us there will be 6 little beats in each measure. And the bottom 8 tells us that the 8th note will be our subdivided beat or pulse note. So in 6/8 time, we'll have 6 8th note beats per measure. And we therefore know, since those are our little beats, that our dotted quarter note will be our big beat or pulse note. We're in compound duple meter because there will be 2 big beats per measure. Our dotted quarter notes will be do, using our Gordon rhythm language, and our little 8th notes, our undotted subdivided little beats here, will be do, da, dee. Setting the metronome at 50 and putting this big beat into our hands or feet. We're just going to read out our first example. Ready, clap. Ready, speak. Do, da, dee, do. Notice that there are no little 3s, even though these 8th notes are grouped to 3s, and that's because this is the natural division of the pulse in 6/8 time. The beat, the big beat, naturally divides into 3 equal parts in 6/8 time. So we don't mark these as triplets. We would only see the little 3 written above a set of 3 8th notes if it was abnormal in that meter if it was not permitted ordinarily in the meter. So we see that in a simple meter because the ordinary permitted division of the beat is into 2 equal parts, and because the triplet, the triple subdivision of the beat, is an unnatural division of the pulse in that meter in 6/8 time, since it's absolutely expected for the pulse to be divided into 3 equal parts. That is the natural division of the pulse in 6/8 time. We don't need that little 3 to indicate it's a triplet. So looking at the example below, you now see that we have one place here where those 3/8 notes have been replaced by only 2/8 notes with a little 2 above them. And this is a duplet, where the beat is divided into 2 equal parts. We know the syllables we use for that in Gordon rhythm language are do, day. Each of these notes will be worth just half of a beat. So the syllables we would use for this example would be do, and then do, da, dee, and then our do, day, do. Setting the metronome at 50, putting this big beat into our hands or feet. We're going to just realize this rhythm. Ready, clap. Ready, speak. Do, da, dee, do, day, do. So the term tuplet refers to the broad category of any subdivision of a beat into a number that is not normally permitted by the meter. So duplets, triplets, quintuplets, sextuplets, septuplets are all examples of specific types of tuplets. So these would all be examples of duplets, which would be a dividing of the beat into 2 equal parts in a meter where that's not normally permissible, like compound meter, because in compound meter the beat naturally divides into 3 equal parts. Notice we have the bracket and the 2 when we have quarter note or half note duplets. We don't need that bracket when we have 8th note or 16th note duplets, but we do still need this 2. These would be examples of triplet tuplets, triplets. So these are 8th note triplets, which would be 3 8th notes played in the same span of time that 2 8th notes ordinarily would be. We know this because there are 3 8th notes beamed together, and because we have a little 3 above them that indicates it's a tuplet. This is an unusual division of the beat into 3 equal parts in a meter where the beat ordinarily divides into 2 equal parts. So any simple meter, you would need a triplet if you wanted to divide the beat into 3 equal parts in any kind of a simple meter. We can also have quintuplets. This would be abnormal in any meter. So this is an example of a 16th note quintuplet. And so we need that little 5 because it's an abnormal division of the beat. This is an example of a sextuplet. This would only be abnormal in simple time because actually in compound time, this is a normal division of the beat. So we would need a 6 above it if we're writing a sextuplet in simple meter. We can even have septuplets where we divide a beat into 7 equal parts, and it's really actually pretty unlimited in terms of how many notes composers can decide to group together as long as they mark that and indicate it appropriately with a little number above them. It's permissible to divide the beat into an abnormal division within that meter as long as it's indicated appropriately as a tuplet, which is recognized as an exception to the usual or natural division of the beat within a meter.